What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Ctrl-Alt-Reset. Today I was not feeling very good. I was ready to just call it in and cancel the studio session, but I got a call from my buddy Derek Morrison, and we've only just began to know each other, but welcome to the show. We're just going to be spitballing some ideas and just like stuff that we think is cool. And why don't you just introduce yourself and let me and kind of the audience know, how you first got oriented to, awareness, or, how did you get into this kind of thing?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's been, woo-woo for me my whole life until, maybe I'd say 2016, I started kind of looking for what the next big thing is for me, and did a lot of research. Went to MIT for a couple weeks. Went to some executive strategy classes. Went to Singularity University for a weekend. Did
so what made it so that you were like, okay, my whole life I've been thinking this is all bullshit, and like the people that practice it are like out there smoking something. What made you like come to the I don't know what it is, but like, I wonder if there's some truth to that. Like, because then you went deep, like you're going to MIT, you're going to like conferences.
I was more interested in the technology side of things, and I guess just became aware of honestly, I don't know. I'll think about it. What was that moment?
All right.
But
you did it.
But
you went down the path.
I went down the path. I mean, at some point there was this awareness, and I met a friend who was Chris Parks at the time. Now he's a yogi, and he calls himself Krishna Chandra. Now that's the name he's been given after being initiated. And he's, legitimately, he, meditates like, 2-3 hours a day and is very strict to his practice. He's also an artist named Pellhorse, but having conversations with him really opened my mind, and he shared, evidence. I think that's the thing is now, this is what I'm very interested in right now is, and that's why I love our conversations is, this ancient wisdom and the intersection of modern technology. And right now we're able to prove a lot of these, there is this, frequency that you can tap into. And there are kind of these little superpowers that people have that's just kind of undeniable at this point,
Like quantum. That was kind of what I was looking at when I read that book, My Big Toe by Thomas Campbell. He's like this physicist, and he's bringing credibility from a science lens into the experiences that he and others are having with like out-of-body experiences. So I can only imagine, you getting it firsthand from somebody that has experienced things that to most people are only kind of woo-woo.
Yeah, and he and I just always have these synchronicities.
Oh, nice.
And
I love when that shit
he
happens.
knows when I'm going to call him and things like that. And so I just spoke with him the other day, actually. He's done a lot of research. Like he's read the Book of the Dead and like ancient manuscripts and things like that. And so he's pretty knowledgeable in what the ancient wisdom, what they used to believe, and up and up on what the modern thoughts are today. But
so what kind of like evidence sent you to MIT? Like what was the MIT conference?
Yeah, no, it was executive strategy courses, but it was basically you can select different things you want to learn about from people who are on the front lines. And MIT is just so exciting just to be. Have you ever been out there?
I have.
To Boston?
Yeah.
It's just a cool town. Just the energy there is so great. You sit at a coffee shop and you just hear the conversations are like something you normally don't hear. People talking about, really, next level things. But I went to. I just studied, what's happening. This was in 2016, so kind of what was happening in social media marketing was one of the courses. negotiation was another one. There's like 3 or 4 others, but the through line in all of it was we are at this, we just crossed the hockey stick and the exponential curve of a lot of these technologies. That's what they're saying in 2016. They were, predicting what's happening today was going to happen in 2040. So it's happening quicker than anybody thought. And
that's way sooner.
Yeah, and I'm all the algorithms send social media, to me about these things, and so there's definitely a buzz that it's happening faster.
So you went to MIT to kind of learn more about the ways to build your book, but where did you go and think of, this is what I want to write my book about?
Yeah, no, I went there just to, my business was doing pretty good, so I wanted to try out something new, and was trying to see what I can look 10 years into the future and capitalize on that. So I came at it from that viewpoint, and I was learning so much. It was blowing my mind. So I just took my notes and converted it into the book at that point. And actually, I hired Chris Palehorse as the artist for the book, and that's how I got to meet him.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I started a nonprofit and kind of did different things, did some courses at ASU. So anyways, yeah.
Nice.
Let's talk about you as well here.
So that got you to where you're at. And I mean, when we first started talking about just random shit, like it was because my wife, Kimmy, and your wife were getting to know each other. And you guys were clients of Kimmy, right?
That's right.
So
Yeah.
you and Emily were like, getting your photos done by Photo Me Studios.
She's an amazing photographer.
She is.
Yeah.
She's
Go
very
check
good.
them out. Put a
Photo
link
Me
right here.
Studios. Clip. I'll put a link. I don't know. I don't know how to do that yet, but
But
I'll
she's
figure
really,
it out.
really great at what she does, and she's passionate. And we've got little kids, and she's so good with them to get them to smile, which is difficult in a photo shoot.
I mean, I don't know if I told you this, but when I found Kimmy, it was on the dance floor at Axis Radius in Scottsdale.
Yeah, I think you did tell me that.
And there was this beam of light, on her face, and I was like talking to my buddy Dan. I'm like, Dan, do you see that hot girl over there? It's the one with like the light on her. And like he didn't see her, and I'm like, it's the one with the light on her face. And he's like, I don't see her. So I have come to realize that that light was only visible to me.
Probably was.
And when I met Kimmy, she was the most present person I have ever met, because she doesn't really have any limiting beliefs. She just does what she wants to do. And it's so powerful. She's an inspiration. Kimmy, you are an inspiration of how I want to live my life, because I definitely don't live my life that way right now. And so this journey has really helped just me be a better person, me be a better husband, a better father, more in tune with kind of my effect in this reality, in my reality, because your reality is your reality.
It's true. Yeah, it's if even just from a science point of view, our perception kind of creates how we view reality, right?
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I kind of have to tell you a story, and you can kind of riff off of this if you want.
Okay.
But first of all, thank you for coming in. Because I was just going to come in and talk about this story that I'm going to tell you right now. But I think it's important to get, your feedback and then also see if you have had any experiences like this too.
Sure.
It was a really, personal growth experience. So I don't know if some people watched a video that I had put out at 3:30 in the morning on Sunday, Father's Day. I had taken a little bit of mushrooms, like the smallest amount of mushrooms. So don't go crazy. Like I wasn't doing ego death or anything like that. So it was like 300 milligrams. And so for ego death, you do 5 grams. So that's just for you guys to know how little it was. But that little amount allowed me to hear Kimmy talk about my spiritual and personal growth through the creation of this podcast in a way that just got rid of all of my limiting beliefs, like all at once. Mm-hmm. I was listening to her because the truth of how powerful I was in my life and through the development that I'm going through is even becoming more powerful. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that, I didn't listen to that inner voice anymore. I didn't even have that inner voice that told me I'm not good enough. And second guessing, everybody has, I think, actually Kimmy said that she doesn't have this inner voice. And so for the longest time, I was like, bullshit. You just don't know that you have this inner voice. Mm-hmm. But I actually did some research, and like 10% of people on this planet don't have that inner monologue going of looking at everything, experiencing everything through this veil of criticism. Mm-hmm. My mom definitely has it. Mm-hmm. She helped me coined the phrase, it's the itty bitty shitty committee. Totally like a mom thing to say.
The itty bitty shitty committee is her inner voice?
It's her inner voice.
Oh, okay, I love it.
It's the inner voice that she says criticizes everything.
Yeah. It's good to acknowledge that
it's good.
Is a shitty committee in our brains.
I didn't understand that wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
I thought that voice was just a part of me. Mm-hmm. And as I'm growing, as I'm doing all of this kind of spiritual, development, I had gone to Landmark, way a long time ago when I was 28. I've gotten to where I'm at, but I still have that voice. I still have that, and I think it's the ego. I think it's the ego that is basically making an enemy of who I am because it's saying who I should be. Mm-hmm. And I know, I wrote in my journal just like the other day, I'm like, this ego it wants me, I should be the cool guy. I've always wanted to be the cool guy. And when I wasn't being the cool guy, when I was being awkward, I would get really insecure. I'd be like, I'm not the cool guy. And when people would have problems with me or like, why'd you say that? That was stupid. It would just reaffirm like, I'm not the cool guy. I'm like, and so my ego would just latch onto that and just make me hate myself. Mm-hmm. And in that moment with Kimmy on like, it was like 12:30 at night on Father's Day. Mm-hmm. So Sunday morning at 12:30 in the morning, my fucking energy, like the aura that I feel kind of normally just was like 10 feet tall. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got so many questions.
Okay.
Can you hold your thought?
Yes.
So, what time did you take it? What was the amount again?
So it was like 300 milligrams. Mm-hmm. And I took it about...
300 milligrams is so 5 grams is an ego death, and
that's right.
1 gram would be 1,000 milligrams, so it's a third of a gram, which is microdosing.
It is
basically right.
It would just opened up the portal.
Okay, but it did. It
and so it was really awesome. Yeah, because I was always under the impression, and you and I had been talking. You were against it, and so I was like, I really want to kill my ego because I'm like, my ego has a fucking firm grip.
I'm all for it under the right conditions and just making sure you know what you're going.
I mean,
for.
It's kind of scary. Like I did some mushrooms when I was in college, and I don't want to get off the subject too much, but like I remember doing an 1/8, which is 3.5 grams, and I went to a toga party. And they had black lights all over. So all the togas were glowing, and I thought everyone was ghosts. Oh. And I literally pissed my pants. Oh, wow. So I went out of there. I left there very quickly and then, changed and stuff like that. But then for the rest of the night, I sat on the stone wall, just watching people go by, and everything they were saying was just gibberish. It was like
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And people would pass by and they're like, "Are you okay? Your face is green." I'm like, I took a picture. My face was green.
So how many do you think you did?
So I
at
think
that
that was
time?
like 3.5 grams.
Oh, wow,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was one mushroom that where the cap was like all the way around, like closed
And
on.
that was like your first time?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
had done
Okay.
some other stuff, but never that much, and never that much again.
Yeah, that
So
probably,
for me to contemplate doing more than that, I'm kind of a little bit scared. And you're absolutely right. You need like a good, safe environment. But from what happened on Saturday night, Sunday morning, I don't know if I need to do that anymore, because what I reason is going to happen is that I get in touch with who I am really, and that I am part of everything. This is what I've read and this is what I've researched happens. And when that happens, you just feel so much love, so much acceptance, so much just being a part of everything. But as what happened with me, you come down from that. You're not that way all the time. And it really hit me, because I made that video that some people had watched, and I was a little bit of the impression that I was, and I am kind of a changed person forever. I think it's hard to maintain that level of optimism and excitement and energy when your ego comes back in.
I kind of mentioned this to Chris at one point, the yogi, and he said he felt the same way. He would have these experiences and then it would go away, and that's why he said, I don't want it to go away. So he just made it a daily practice of meditation. And from what I see, he really is like the happiest guy. But it's a commitment. What he does, it's dedication. He's got a wife that it took a period of time for her to accept the new him that was doing all this and support it, and to.
What was he like before?
I mean,
Was he just like an average Joe?
No.
No.
He's an artist, artists aren't average,
eccentric and like.
Yeah, but I knew him. I met him right when he was kind of coming into that transition, I think.
Yeah.
No, he actually was in a rock band before that.
Nice.
And he's done art for, like he just did some art for Smashing Pumpkins, and so he does. He's really good at what he does.
Nice.
But he dropped. I mean, for a few years, he dropped all of his commercial clients and now just does what he wants to do, which is usually murals or things that are kind of, around.
Nice.
His practice.
Well,
but
we'll get him on.
Yeah, we have to.
Get him on.
He's kind of, I guess, the main kind of person that kind of led me into thinking more deeply about these things.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, and so what you were talking about in terms of him understanding that these glimpses behind the veil are powerful, but you can't keep them.
Another, analogy is going to church. I used to go to church every single Sunday, and I'd feel great afterwards, actually. And everyone's so kind, leaving the parking lot,
So nice.
And then, you get down the road, and you're like, asshole, you have a vibe for a little bit, this energy that you just developed, and then it dissipates,
Because you're in that vibe with everybody else. And I definitely, I used to go to church, but being in a community is super important, and I definitely need to be part of more communities because I'm kind of like going at this alone, and I don't get to have that community experience. So when I dropped off, the effect of that, experience dropped off, I was back to same old Matt, except for the understanding and maybe the goal of that's where I want to go. That's who I want to be. I have a firm understanding that I am powerful, that the effect of my development is not only affecting Kimmy and my kids, it's affecting Kimmy's parents. Kimmy's parents are doing things that are way more conscious. They're aware of their effect on each other. And that never used to be the case. So Kimmy was just extending like a warm acknowledgement in that regard. And the same goes for like my mom. My mom, as I talked to before, she's like, critical, and she has that itty bitty shitty committee, but she was reinforcing the things or even planting the ideas in my mind that really I wasn't good enough. I have ADHD. I made some bad decisions when I was little, but it then became kind of my identity that I couldn't make good decisions. And so then I had a really tough time trusting myself. And so it's all this circular loop that I've, for the rest of my life, have been trying to get rid of. And so now I'm seeking counseling, and which is help. But what you were saying about with like Pale Horse is that it takes commitment. It's not an easy thing to do, right? And like, I mean, what are your practices?
It's taken years to get to where I am now, and it's been biohacking and doing meditations and different type of breath work, and I'm terrible at staying committed to it. I get really good for like 3 months. Life is great, and then work and life happens and travel and things like that, and I fall out of it. And I used to get so upset, like, oh, it's all over. I was doing so good, but now I just know that's part of my routine is I'm going to fall out. I know that I'm going to get back in. And just having that confidence and no worries about it is, really freeing for me.
I was actually listening to Eckhart Tolle on the way here. Do you know Eckhart Tolle?
I don't.
You have to listen or read his book. So he has a couple of books, The Power of Now, A New World, and he has such awesome just wisdom. Anyway, he was saying that, the Buddha believes that suffering is unavoidable, but it's something that the human mind makes up. There is no suffering out in the world. The world is just the way that it is. And so the human experience creates suffering internal to themselves. And what you can learn to be at peace with is that your life will never be easy without suffering, but it's or without challenges. The suffering comes from looking at challenges in a very, why is life doing this to me? This shouldn't be the way that it is. And so he identifies the fact that when you make an enemy of the current moment as this shouldn't be the way that it is, you're really creating suffering for yourself right in that moment. And so it's a lifelong endeavor to be aware that life is never going to be challenge-free. I know a lot of people think when I get to this level in my career, man, life is going to be perfect. When I marry this woman, when I have this relationship, when I, do climb Mount Everest, I know several people that keep achieving things because when they reach that goal, when they reach that finish line, it hits them. This isn't it. This isn't what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And so it keeps just like nagging on them. And the things that they thought were going to make them happy don't make them happy.
I think it's just part of the human condition, right?
It is. It totally is.
We always want more, and we're always fearful that we're going to lose what we've got.
But, I mean, you have come to the acceptance. Like, the acceptance is key. The fact that people hit these milestones and then feel like betrayed or like hurt because what they thought they were going to get from like a enlightenment or from like a reward internally perspective just wasn't there, or maybe it was there for a short time. And so the acceptance, I think, is key because it allows you to push forward knowing that this challenge isn't going to stay around forever. Like I've been challenged in my work at Google to the point of like breaking down and crying. Like I was at the top of my game. And this is what someone who I work with says, that Google hires people at the top of their game. Like now you're in a sea of people who are at the top of their game.
Right.
And guess what? You're just another person in a sea of, smart people. And so it's really confronting. And so for someone who maybe has latched on to that success as like, this is who I am, when you don't have that, your ego is like, well, who are you then? But through those challenges, I have had some of the biggest breakthroughs in my life about just persevering and just, you know what? Like I remember leaving my counselor office, just like laughing and crying at the same time. I'm like, bring it on! Fuck yeah! And like I was like yelling at God, and I'm like, I'm ready for this. Like if this is life and this is life, I can do this. Like, and it hurt, and it was a lot.
Awesome, man. That was the threshold you crossed to the next level.
I know. Things are happening, but it's not easy.
Yeah, I think of it as life is, a hero's journey, and wouldn't be a good story if there weren't, struggles and temptations and obstacles and all that. But
do you believe that like your soul is here to like work out some challenges? And
I'm
what
open
do you
that.
think? What do you think your challenges would be?
Oh, I feel like I'm in a good place. I'm open to that idea. But yeah, my challenge is, I really have a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be the one to really change the world, but I do want to help somebody else who actually is capable of doing that. But I feel like there's now we have the tools and the capability in this age to really do massive things, and it's just crazy the inequalities and the wars and things that are taking place. I feel like we're just still monkeys blowing shit up and banging on each other's heads when we don't have to do that anymore.
It is.
Or I don't know.
It's kind of sad. Like part of my mushroom trip was me and Kimmy were like, okay, what's going on in the world? And I turned on the TV and I saw Iran and Israel bombing the shit out of each other.
I know.
And it fucking made me so, like, I cried because I was like, why are we still doing this to each other? And I know that it's not the people of the countries, it's the people who are leading these countries who don't give a shit about, and I don't want to be a political kind of like, commentator right now, because I haven't done, like, turning on the TV that night was like the first time that I had seen that stuff, because I don't like the news. I hate watching the news. It's all negative. And it makes, I know that what you feed yourself and you feed your brain is what you think about.
I won't even pause on a scroll for very long. If I see something that's interesting in the news, I will just scroll past it, because I know if I pause on it, the algorithms are going to think I like it, and I'm going to start to get more of that.
You know more of the technology behind this stuff.
Yeah, I just don't want to get.
Yeah,
I think today you have to be very careful on what you click on, because that's what you're going to get fed.
Nice.
More and more of that.
So to go to a completely different subject? What is your feed like?
It's I'll show you, man. It's all EDM festivals. It's
nice.
It's just I try to click on the happy vibes only and stuff that make me laugh. I catch the headlines in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's really all I need to know. And then I talk to other people who give me the highlights. But if I can't change it, and I'm just kind of focused on what's most important in my life, my family, and trying to make myself better at this point, and hopefully can exponentiate opportunities and resources outward to others if I can make myself the best I can be. That's just kind of where my head's at.
I mean, it sounds like you're wanting to be of service.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
To the world, regardless of how that takes shape.
Yeah, it's kind of this drive I've always had, and haven't found that moment. But on my spare time, I love ideating on things and working on things. But my family really is. I'm very grounded in the reality of my family is what matters more than anything.
Yeah.
If I had the opportunity to have all the energy and superpowers and telepathy, future foresight, all that stuff versus, not have my family, I would choose my family every time.
I would choose my family too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's kind of why we, vibe together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to keep what you want to see in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like when you were talking about the feed, like you're clicking on EDM, like happy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like and I'm just going to bring up my mom again. She watches news 24 hours a day. And when I'm on the phone with her, I kind of hate it because it's like all she wants to do is talk about all the bad stuff in the world. And I'm like, Mom, is this affecting your life right now? And she's like, well, no, but I need to know what's going on in the world. I'm like, yeah, but the news is not covering everything that's going on in the world. They're covering the bad shit.
Yeah.
And the human condition, unfortunately, this has been proven time and time again, is that humans will gravitate towards a negative video like 10 times more than a positive video.
Yeah.
So we as leaders, as the creators of our own experience and our own life, really have to overcome the challenge of being in this human body.
And that's a survival mechanism from thousands of years ago that was evolved into us. And now we don't have to.
No, we don't have tigers.
We don't have to be so afraid.
Saber-toothed tigers.
Yeah, we have a lot of backup plans and basic needs met, really, at least here in the U.S.
All we have is that guy said something mean to me.
Right.
And then we fucking take it as like the worst thing that ever happened.
Right.
And so many people are getting so triggered and their defensive like fight or flight mechanism that was made to run away from fucking woolly mammoths is coming into play and like
With something
making
petty.
them super anxious and like, oh my God, like I'm afraid. And unfortunately, the media is playing to that. I'll give you something to be afraid of. So I mean, I love how you're curating because the technology is up to no good if we let our human kind of thinking get in the way or in the driver's seat.
I'm hopeful though for the future because I think everyone's pretty much aware of it now.
Yeah.
And the kids that are coming out of college are very aware of, of their attention being monetized. And I think that when social media began, they started to figure out how to monetize it. And we learned that it was actually not a great thing. And I think these kids that are coming out of college that are starting to innovate new things are innovating things that are actually really good for the world and conscious about the second order consequences and things like that. So
I think that's great. I mean, because they're the ones who, when they get older, are going to be in the driver's seat. So that's awesome.
Yeah, but something I want for your podcast is to explore further this this awakening, this for the consciousness, to connect with the energies. There's not a pill or an easy shortcut. You can dedicate your life to meditation. People in communes are maybe happy, but they're really weird.
And they have no other distractions.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit easier. Anyway.
Yeah, but well, that's it. I think that there's a lot of organizations that explore different aspects of how to become your best self and tap into these energies. And
Tell me about your idea, because we were talking about this earlier, and I love it. Going and exploring kind of the societies or the communities that are already, tapping into this awareness or consciousness. Like this is, I'm one who's kind of bumbling through this awakening process.
Yeah. So there's lots of organizations and groups that study. It'd be great to go to the leaders of those, or whoever you can contact, and say, what's your best practices? Are you willing to share it? Let's compare with the other ones and find what the through lines are.
I love that.
Also, throughout history, for millennia, there's been cultures and religions that have mystic wisdom. They've got mainstream wisdom, and I feel like I don't know if it's ever been done. There's probably cross-cultural studies, but where you look at all of these and kind of find out where the connections are. For instance, Qi is something that I'm not an expert. I just read little summaries here and there, but it's kind of maybe you can tell me better, because by the way, we got a kung fu master here. You should talk about that.
So yes, I did get my black belt in Kung Fu Sansu, and I was going to continue that path, but then I started down this journey. And in line with your curation of your feed, what you focus on becomes you. And I recognize that by practicing my martial arts and looking at every situation that I was going into as dangerous, as a potential threat, I recognized that I couldn't be present in love and acceptance if I'm always looking at situations to defend. So I know the skills, but I stopped practicing. It took me 6.5, 7 years to get there, and it was a pretty quick decision when I'm like laying in bed thinking of, okay, so if an attacker comes in, I'm going to do this move on him, and so I'm just visualizing. And so as I visualized things that I want, I recognized I was visualizing things that I definitely didn't want.
Interesting.
Yeah. But thank you, everything takes practice. So
yeah. And
maybe that's the message for this podcast episode, is that I think, yes, you can see the good goal. You can set a goal, and, maybe taking mushrooms, this last weekend helped me see what that goal is very clearly.
And hold that thought. PSA is, we're
not recommending
and,
we're not recommending doing any of this.
Yeah, but you microdosed, and you're
I'm a
responsible
48-year-old man,
and you didn't use it as a party drug. You use it as plant medicine, really.
That's right, and it's that's true. Like, a lot of people can use drugs for escape.
Yeah.
I don't use them as escape. Like, I'm not trying to escape anything. I'm trying to just enhance my consciousness. But anyway, so that goal setting of peering behind the veil is great, but it takes consistent effort. It takes integrity. It takes consistency. You've got to instill some kind of practice that will help you get to where you want to go. Because if you think that it's going to be some quick fix, some pill that's going to solve all your problems, I think that's the wrong way to approach it. And I know, in fact, that if you take the steps every day to build that meditation practice, the journaling, the focusing on, good things and acting with good intentions in your community, being of service, all of those things are going to have way more lasting positive effect, not only for you, but also everybody around you.
Yeah, I think finding that balance and every little thing levels you up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not that one thing that's going to take you up to here.
Right.
But I think, let your audience know that we're going to go down this path. I'll join you. We're going to explore and see if there are the shortcuts.
Oh, shit.
And because I believe that, this ancient wisdom kind of got forgotten a little bit or siloed away. And then there's the Industrial Revolution, medicine that really was amazing, that extended life and made, people who were suffering not suffer and things like that. And now we're kind of coming back into this realization that there's maybe a combination of the modern medicine, modern technology, and these ancient methods that can really make a truly holistic, or, I don't know the term, but
accelerated awakening.
Accelerated
awakening.
Yes, let's call this episode Accelerated
Awakening. Or the possibility of, we don't know what the accelerated awakening is, but we're gonna find out.
Yeah, on the next episode.
Stay tuned. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Should we
Derek.
talk about how we coordinated our outfits today?
Oh, I know. The video is gonna go switch back and forth, and it'll probably look like the same person.
You're the taller, stronger one. So
I need to work out.
all right, I appreciate you, man.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
Yeah,
Good
thanks,
conversation.
Derek.
Let's
All
do
right.
some more.
Bye, guys. Next time,
Later.
be with us. We're gonna have more exciting episodes, and just whatever feels good to raise our consciousness and help people raise their own consciousness. Take care.